Hey guys, it's Tess from the Latte Library, and today I'll be doing my April wrap up. I didn't know if I was going to do this video or not because I feel like I read 6 books in total, and I'm like, is that even like decent enough to share? But I'm like, well, here I am anyway. I'm gonna get straight into it. So yes, I read 6 books. I started off with Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J Maas. I do have a non-spoiler review up on my channel already if you want to check out my thoughts. But basically, I rated this book 3.5/3.75 stars. I listened to it via audiobook. Ultimately, like, there was just so much hype to it, and in my opinion it just didn't live up to it, but definitely worth reading if you're into urban fantasy. I think that's half my problem, is that I just wasn't really into that sort of genre or take on fantasy. But awesome characters, very good characters, and the world building was definitely there. It's just the storyline that let me down a little bit. But if you want to see my thoughts further on that one, check out my channel. The next book I read, and I am so grateful, so a very special friend gifted this to me because they knew that I really wanted to read it. I felt really compelled to read this book because I could relate to the main character so much. So basically, Vanessa Y was 15 years old when she first had sex with her English teacher. She is now 32, and in the storm of allegations against powerful men in 2017, the teacher has just been accused of sexual abuse by another former student. Basically, it's a very dark read, and it can be very confronting, and I think that it just, I don't know, I could relate to a lot of it from Vanessa's perspective. Like, she's very unsure how to feel about this. She genuinely feels like she loves this man, and then she's like in a little bit of denial that he would do this to someone else because he loved her. It's just very interesting. If you're into unique dark reads or willing just to give it a go, I definitely recommend it. I didn't even know how to rate this book because I feel like it was in such a different area. Like, I don't know. So I think I rated it like 4 stars. I don't know, I feel weird saying I enjoyed this read, but I definitely recommend this read, you know, just to open up perspective about a couple of things. But yeah. Oh yeah, and this was written by Kate Elizabeth Russell. I did read this via paperback also, and I recommend reading it via paperback too. Next, I read Handle with Care by Helena Hunting. I read this via audiobook. It's just a light romance, which I needed after this. It's like, yeah, a romance. It was good. Nothing like stood out to me so much. I rated it 3 stars. It was good. Definitely what I needed. Next, on to the fun part, I'm gonna keep this in this set. So I read A Court of Thorns and Roses, my 4th book of the month. It's a reread, and I loved it so much to the point where I even like did a video on my IGTV about like a really random overview review of it, which I will end up posting on YouTube because it's a lot of fun. I love it so much. This story is awesome. If you are new to fantasy or need a new fantasy book to read, I suggest picking up A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas. I've started listening to it via audiobook, which I hadn't done the first time. So the first time I read them via paperback. What can I say? Sarah J Maas is amazing when it comes to just a lot of things. But yep, and then of course after that I listened to A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas. 2 completely different, yes, part of one series, but 2 very unique storylines. I absolutely love it. Again, I rated it 5 stars. I actually finished listening to it on the 30th of April. Definitely, I just recommend this series so much. I'll read A Court of Wings and Ruin by audiobook this month in May, but far out, like, I just feel like if you haven't started A Court of Thorns and Roses, look it up. It follows Feyre. She is like a huntress. She kills a wolf, and then she's like lives in the human lands, but all of a sudden she lives in the fairy lands. It's taken to the spring court. Like, it's supposed to be a Beauty and the Beast retelling, if that helps, but if it doesn't, I'm really bad at explaining things, so definitely go look it up, see if it's for your liking. But it is an awesome series. I just can't recommend it enough. And the 6th book I read, so I didn't know what to read. To be honest, I was like, I don't know if I feel okay with just reading 5 books. It doesn't feel right to me. So I was looking on Audible for like shorter books, and one of them was called Secrets by L. Marie Adeline, and the genre was erotic romance, which I was like, what? There's like another, like, an erotic romance genre? Okay. Anyway, so I read it in one sitting, or listened to it in one sitting. I mean, erotic's a really strong word, and you kind of just like think certain things when you think of erotic, but it was actually really interesting because the format of the book was actually kind of like the quest trope in fantasy novels. So the main character had to experience, I think, 6 different things as a part of like a society thing. I thought it was actually really good. It definitely has its, I guess, sexy moments, but it's just like so different to what I've read. It was quite, yeah, it was a fun light read, surprisingly, but it did end on like somewhat of a cliffhanger. But apparently there's like, I think it's like 2 more books in the series, and I'm like, free, now I like feel like I have to read it because of this cliffhanger. But yeah, no, it was actually really good. I did rate it 3.5 stars. I kind of feel like with a lot of romance books, except if they're Colleen Hoover, I tend to rate them between 3 and 3.5 stars because it's not necessarily my favorite genre. So I gotta I say, oh, it's 3.5 stars, but it's really good, you should like read it. Unlike these bad boys, which are like 5 stars, because you should definitely read them. But yeah, that is my April wrap up. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in my next video. See ya!